Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Ant, one half of Delinquent Duo here, coming at you with another tech video. This time we are talking about Floowandereeze. This is probably one of my favorite decks of the format. It is so nice to shut your opponent down with D-Shifter, and it's one of the easiest decks to play, one of the cheapest decks to get, and also it makes your opponent extremely salty. So, we're going to be covering some of the tech cards that are available to us in Floowandereeze and going over some budget options that you might want to play. I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of each of these cards, and if you guys have any other suggestions, please leave them down in the comment section below. Without further ado, if you guys do like this content, please give us a like and subscribe, and let's get into the tech review. So, this is going to be a standard Floowandereeze deck that you see on the screen right now. This is my main deck. It's what I've been testing out lately. And I'm only going to go over a few cards in here. These are going to be some of the most popular tech options that are going and finding their way into the main deck this format. So I want to start off by talking about Book of Moon. This was something that kind of fell out of favor and then went back in. I think Book of Moon is still a really nice card because you want to play cards that are going to help you combo. Because once you get your one card combo going, you pretty much FTK your opponent. Book of Moon's a really nice card because it beats cards like Imperm and Effect Veiler, which are still pretty popular options in the main deck. So having a card that helps you play through those is going to up your consistency and help you get to those FTK end boards that you want to see. The next card that I want to talk about is in the side deck. It is Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This is such a strong option to play because it is a floodgate hand trap that kind of shuts your opponent out of their engine. You want to play really strong hand traps like this when you're playing this deck because your deck can't really play through that many interruptions. So you want to be able to set up your one card combos with ease, and the best way to do that is to cut your opponent out of their engine. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is similar to Dimension Shifter in that this deck can utilize it extremely well, and it's one of the only decks in the format that can do so. Because you don't really care about your extra deck, you can play all of the best extra deck cards that your opponent would be playing and use Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries to shut them out from that strategy. So you can throw in cards like Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, Gilgamesh, Chisao, and all these other options that you see right here, which your opponent might really rely on to get their engine going. But if you just Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries them, they'll be locked out of that option and you'll be set up to win going second. Another card that we can talk about is DD Crow. This is something that you can even put in the main deck because it's still a nice going second card, and it's a little bit better than Stree in some instances because it doesn't really rely on a normal summon, and it's still searchable from Rabina. So I like to throw it in the side deck just because if I am playing against a Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, then it's another out to that. Going along with the blowout cards, you want to play something like Lightning Storm because, like I said, if you have cards that bait out your opponent when you're going second, that are really strong options, or even something that pairs well with Dark Ruler No More, you can use them and just blow out your opponent so that way you can play freely. Lightning Storm is a nice option because a lot of people are putting their monsters in attack position still, especially on boards that have the floor, Baroness the floor, and you want to be able to just bait out that card with any really strong going second option that you have. So Lightning Storm is a really nice option, and it even helps going against those spell and trap decks. Finally, the next thing I want to talk about is Crossout Designator. This is the card that I'm playing as my going first card, and there's another going first card that I'm going to talk about in the rest of the text, but I want to talk about Crossout right now because there's a lot of cards that kind of shut you out if you just open a really weak hand and you're reliant on that one card to go through. You want to play a card like Crossout Designator so that way you can shut your opponent out of that one card. Because like I said, if your combo goes through, then you're definitely going to win. Crossout Designator does force you to play other hand traps at one, and it makes your ratios in the side deck a little bit weird, but as you see in my example right here, I have the most popular hand traps of the format and the ones that really hurt your deck. So Ghost Ogre, Lancia, Droll, and even Forbidden Droplet as a one-of, because you can still use it if you set Crossout Designator on your turn, and Banish Droplet. Forcing you to play these one-ofs is kind of sketchy sometimes, because if you draw them with Crossout Designator, then it almost does nothing. But if you notice that your opponent is playing any of these cards, you can side in one or two of them when you know you're going first, so that way you can not lose to cards that really shut you out, especially cards like Droll and Lancia, because Lancia is going to get rid of your ability to follow up on your plays, and Droll is pretty much going to shut down your turn. Now that we've talked about the main stuff and the most popular tech cards, I want to go into some other ones in this giant list that I have right here. Of course, this looks messy, but I do want to break down every one of these cards right here. So I want to start with this Samorg package that I have. It's a pretty giant set of cards right here, so I can talk about it in full. This little package right here of Set Rotation and Elbors, I think Elbors is one of the better cards that one of the better field spells you can play that ups your consistency. Has a nice effect where you can get an extra normal summon, and it even has a secondary effect where you can tribute summon a winged beast monster for one less tribute. So even if you are stuck with something just like what Eaglin by itself, you can still go ahead and get into Empin and stuff. If you are playing another field spell in your deck, you want to play a card like Set Rotation, because as you know, Floowandereeze and the Magnificent Map is one of the best starters that you have, and to be able to get to that extremely consistently is going to be what helps you win those games. Now, to go along with the Samorg package, Samorg Bird of Perfection is one of the newer cards that came out, and it has a pretty nice effect that allows you to not only chain block your own normal summon, but also search all these other Samorg cards out of your deck. So they become less bricky because this is kind of a secondary engine that you could play. So if you guys don't know what this does, when you normal summon a monster, you can activate its effect in hand. So it kind of allows you to get that extra chain blocking when you don't set up something like a map. And when it is summoned, you send one to the graveyard, and you can add a card to your hand, I believe. Yeah, you can add a Samorg spell or trap to your hand. So it's another way to get the Elbors, which kind of adds you another extender because it is that extra normal summon if you do have a winged beast monster. And the interesting thing about this guy is that it also counts as a wind attribute, which comes up with a lot of the bigger Samorg monsters if you choose to play them. Samorg Bird of Bringing is another card that you could play in this engine because its effect is almost the same as this Bird of Perfection. It can add a Samorg card from your deck to your hand, so it can also grab the Elbors if you need it, and also grab some of the bigger monsters that you see right here. Now, if you are going to play this engine, I would suggest only playing one of the big birds. You can take out something like the Empin, or even if you can't afford the Ryza, then you can play another card. But I'm going to go over these big birds right here. So if you guys don't know what this one does, this is Samorg, Lord of the Storm. I think this is one of the better big birds that you can play because its effect is a decent floodgate. It says when a spell or trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you contribute one winged beast monster, then target one card your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. So I think this is a really nice card to play, especially with the Brave package that everybody else is playing in their deck, because it kind of beats that just by itself. You can tribute himself, and if they do something like activate the Adventurer, and they have that token on the field, you can tribute this and target the token to spin it back. So it kind of gets rid of that negate that they would get out of searching the Griffin. So it's really nice because, of course, your opponent is going to activate a spell card on their turn. So it's a way to kind of break your opponent's board without really doing anything at all. Samorg Bird of Ancestry is an interesting card. This card is less good because it does require wind monsters, but it also has a secondary effect that both players tribute summon wind monsters for one less. And if you do tribute summon this using wind monsters, you can bounce 2 cards to your opponent's hand. So it's kind of like a worse version of Ryza, but it is a budget option if you don't want to shell out $70 for this card, Ryza. Dark Samorg is another tech option that a lot of people are playing. It doesn't really require the Samorg engine, and if you are playing in a format with a lot of back row, Dark Samorg is going to be the card that shuts your opponent down, because when you have this guy on the field, your opponent can't flip any of those spell or traps. So it's a nice floodgate against those spell and trap decks. The next piece of consistency card that I want to talk about is going to be Small World. This was a tech that I was playing when I didn't have Prosperity. So Small World is a nice replacement for that, or even something just to give your deck that extra bit of consistency. The only problem is that it does require you playing a brick that is a Dark Winged Beast monster. So you can play something like the Earthbound Immortal, or even Dark Samorg works sometimes, but the level kind of messes you up a little bit sometimes. So the Earthbound Immortal is the best target for that. But if you guys don't know what this does, playing Small World with this Earthbound Immortal card pretty much lets you get into almost any of your other Floowandereeze monsters with any of the other monsters in your deck. It can even work with Dimension Shifter because the Earthbound Immortal is a dark, so you can Small World away a Dimension Shifter in your hand, banish Earthbound Immortal, and search a Robina or Eaglin or whatever you need. It's a nice little bit of consistency, but it is not as good as any of these pot cards, or even as good as the Floowandereeze Advent Adventure. Let's go into some of the cards that I have in my side deck right here. These are options that I would consider sideboarding. So the Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode is a very nice card when you're going second. If you are in a format that is setting up these huge boards, like having Baron and Verte and DPE on the field, you can use the Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode to just tribute all those problematic monsters on your opponent's side and just give them this ball. It can also synergize with your deck quite interestingly because you are getting those extra normal summons all of the time. So if you do end up normal summoning something like the Floowandereeze and Empin, it lets you get that extra normal summon of anything else, and you could go ahead and tribute your opponent's entire field by playing under their all of their monsters unexpectedly, and then you just drop this ball on them. Evenly Matched is an interesting side deck card. I wouldn't consider playing it because when you are going second, your opponent is going to be putting in those Lancias because they know that card is really strong against you. So Evenly Matched is kind of like a 50-50. You're kind of begging to get Lancia'd at that point. And if you do get Lancia'd, then you're really losing and you're kind of wasting your Evenly Matched. But it is still a nice board wipe to play if you guys want to play that. Another card that's similar to Lightning Storm is Raigeki, and now that this card is at 3, it's pretty interesting to play Index because it does force your opponent to negate it. Raigeki is a classic card, destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and because we're in this combo heavy format where everybody's setting up all of these monsters, Raigeki blows them out. This is going to be a very interesting side deck card that some of you guys are going to be playing in tournaments. Neospatian Air Hummingbird, if you don't know what this does, it is so clutch. Once per turn, you can gain 500 life points for each card in your opponent's hand. So this is something that's nice to play with time rules, because if you are controlling the board and extending these games to a super long period, you can side in this Neospatian Air Hummingbird when there's like a minute left on the clock, and you can actually search it with a Robina because it is a level 4 or lower winged beast, and you just summon this guy on the field and you go ahead and gain that attack and you win in time. So it's a very funny side deck card. You guys better be on the lookout for this if you are playing in a timed tournament, because it's a pretty much guaranteed free win. Another side deck card that you can play when you are going first is going to be these 3 trap cards right here. Solemn Judgment is still a nice card to play if you are going first and you don't want to play things like Crossout. Judgment is really good because if you notice that your opponent is playing big cards like Dark Ruler No More's, Forbidden Droplets, or Lightning Storm, Judgment just shuts that down. And it's also really nice because it is another form of protection for your barrier statue, because you can just Judgment your opponent's normal summon, and if they don't have anything else, then they pretty much lose. Another auto win card is going to be Harpy's Featherstorm. This is another very, very popular side deck option. I personally don't play it because I think it's kind of a wind more, so I would rather play that card Crossout Designator so that way I can actually ensure my combos going through. But Harpy's Featherstorm is still a crazy card, and I wouldn't argue against playing it at all. If you guys don't know what it does, it says your opponent can't activate monster effects. It's pretty much VFD as a trap card, as long as you have a winged beast on your field. Another interesting side deck option is going to be this budget option, Lose One Turn. This card is so funny because it is, like I said, Floowandereeze can play all these crazy options because their strategy is so different from everything else. It says activate only if you currently control no special summon monsters. While a monster is face up on the field, negate its effects during that turn that monster was special summoned. If an effect monster is special summoned and attack, change it to defense. So this is kind of like a reverse version of Empin, and it works for all special summon monsters, so it's really good against, like, if your opponent is playing that synchro deck. Lose one turn is going to shut them down, for a whole turn. Another side deck option that I want to talk about before I talk about the rest of these consistency cards is going to be Enemy Controller. I think this is still an interesting tech option to play because it is another card, just like Book of Moon, that helps you play around Imperm and Veiler. It's good going second because you can tribute your own monster and then steal an opponent's monster, and then when you tribute summon yourself, you're just going to get rid of that monster for free anyways. So it's a really nice form of removal. And like I said, it helps play around those cards like Imperm, Effect Veiler, or even your opponent's Chi Chows. So it is a cool card to play. Next, I kind of want to talk about the rest of these consistency cards. Goldstark is still a decent option. Again, if you are a budget player and you don't want to shell out for the prosperities, Goldstark is going to help up your consistency because it kind of acts like another Floowandereeze tiny bird name if you do have another bird in hand already. Ringwoodle is an interesting card because it is pretty much a pot of greed as long as you have 2 winged beast monsters on your field. So if you don't want to have these other kind of pot of greed cards that we have, you can play something like Ringwoodle and cheese out draw 2s that way. Pot of Extravagance is going to be another nice budget option because this card is pretty much only $20 right now. It's way better than paying $120 for Prosperity, and it works almost as good. It's kind of nice in situations just to draw 2 cards instead of milling the 6 and trying to grab 1, because the more cards that you have in your hand, the more stuff that you can play with. So Pot of Extravagance is still a decent budget option for you if you want to do that. Another nice package to play in Floowandereeze is a Nadir Servant. Even though it's not at 3 anymore, this card is still decent to play at 2, and it doesn't really hurt that much because you do have these consistency cards in your deck. So you can see it pretty often. And it's basically like you have 3 versions of Ecclesia, because even if you have Ecclesia in your hand, you can use the Empin to normal summon Ecclesia and get you to this Dogmatica punishment. And if you are focusing on this punishment strategy and using Nadir Servant, then you can actually tailor your side deck to very interesting extra deck options that'll help you even without special summoning from the extra deck. So let's move on into some of those extra deck options that you could play if you are going for a more Dogmatica route. This package right here is really nice to go to play against other Dogmatica decks. The Entis, Dragon Nova, and Mechaba, the Christmas package as it is known. So if you guys are playing against a lot of people that are using Maximus on you, this is going to be a free package that you can play to get this negate out and get a free destroy. And again, using something like Natis for Nadir Servant is basically going to turn Nadir Servant into an MST or just a free removal. Other cards that you can play in the extra deck for the Dogmatica package is going to be Tri-Brigade Omen and Baron Blossom. These cards work nicely because Omen is going to let you search for a winged beast monster, which can search you for your baby birds. And Baron Blossom is another nice card because it's, again, just lets you draw a card and then put a brick back. Another card that you could play for this is going to be the Paleozoic Camebro Raster. Don't even know if I said that right, but this card is pretty interesting because it reads, if a set card you control would be destroyed by card effects, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard instead. So it kind of protects your back row in that way, and it's really nice to play along with the Dogmatica stuff because it's going to protect your punishment. And that pretty much does it for all of my little extra deck options. That does it for the tech cards in the main deck. and all of these nice side deck cards. Let me know what you guys think about all of these tech options in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.